Hi all, today we are discussing about the system landscape, which is one of the most important topic for you for preparing for the interview point of view. So this is something which we come across in each and every project. Every project that you are going to do in the future, we would be having a particular system landscape for that particular project, and every client will decide its own system landscape. Let's go ahead and see the typical system landscape which we normally have. Typical landscape system will have a database server, development server, quality server and production server. These are the three main servers that we normally basically use in the real time. And addition to this, we also have something called pre-production server, which will come across in the next model. So basically every project in the real-time server will have development server, quality server and production server. These three are the mandatory servers, and in which you are going to do all the customization and configuration, whatever you are doing in the SPRO transaction. Those things you are going to do it in the development server, and then these development server, whatever developments that we have done, will be moved to the quality server. The quality team will test that is it according to the requirement that the client has given. If the client has given some requirement and if it matches what you have developed or what you have customized, then that will be tested properly and then it will be moved to the production server. And I normally have taken the example of BMW and IBM, right? So if IBM is implementing it for BMW, then BMW is the client which will have the complete access of production server. So we from the development company, that is IBM, we are not supposed to do any changes in the production server without the knowledge of the client. But in development server, it is completely in the hands of IBM. So we are not going to hand over this access to of development or quality to the BMW, because if BMW has done something which we are not supposed to do, then it will be like there will be a misunderstanding. So it's very clear, IBM is going to have the complete access of development and quality, and BMW, the client, is going to have the access of pre-production server. Now whatever customization configurations that you have done within the SPRO transaction or the customization config, all those steps, those things can be moved from development to quality, quality to production. You cannot configure all these things in the production. You can do it, but you will not be given the access to do that. Okay, so in development server we have done, but whatever are the postings that you have done, I mean not at the SPRO level, at the SAP easy access level, from the accounting, whatever you are accessing, those things can be done only at the server level. So you cannot move that postings from which you have done in development to quality, quality to production, you cannot move. Okay, you have to again do these postings in the production server from the fresh, because that is something called data. Okay, so that we have to do that basic postings. The end users work have to be done fresh in the production server. Whatever GL accounts you are creating, whatever account groups, not account groups, whatever GL accounts you are creating, whatever documents you are creating, have to be done again in the production server, right? So here development server will always have partitions called clients, and a client is always a 3-digit number. It's always like that. So normally when you are practicing, if you observe, when you log in into the screen, username and password, on top of it you'll have something called client, and basically you are for practice, that is IDES system. IDES system means International Demo and Evaluation System. In that you will normally have a client name as 800, but here what we can do is you can go ahead with the any other clients. Normally in the real time we will never go with 800 client, we will always go with 120, 130, any 3-digit number is okay, fine, but not 800. Okay, and not 000 also. 000, I'm going to tell you why 000 is not allowed. Basically 000 is something which we use for golden client. This golden client is not going to be mentioned anywhere in your entire server, because it is something which is like a hidden client, and they don't tell you about the golden client, because that will have the default settings. If you do anything wrong, then you can just go and copy from the default settings in the golden client. That's the reason it will not be mentioned in the system landscape at all. Okay, but it will be there. Now quality server also will have partitions called clients. Okay, so it will also have partitions in the clients, and whenever anything that you have done is client specific, if somebody is mentioning that it is client specific, it will be available only in that client. For example, your clients are 120, 130, 140, and if something is client specific and it is done in 120 client, it will not be visible in 130 client. But the customization configurations what you have done, you cannot hide it like that. They are client independent by default. So whatever customizations you have done in 120 will be visible in 130 also. Okay, and production will never have clients. It will have a single client. It will not have multiple clients. It will always have single client. And now, as I told you, the quality in the quality server, IBM is going to test it. Means the company which is implementing SAP will test it. But what if the client want to test it? Means BMW also want to test it from their end before it is moving to the production server. If that's a scenario, they have to come up with another server called pre-production server. Pre-production server is a server which basically is used as a testing environment for the client. And since as per the SAP's suggestions, we should not give the access of quality server to the client. So the client has to purchase another server called pre-production server, which will be an intermediate between the quality server and production server. Okay, so pre-production server is something in which we have to move all these customization configurations. Then there the client will test it, and when it is approved, the client himself will move to the production server. Okay, so when from IBM perspective, if any objects or any developments or any customization that you have done is moving from quality to pre-production, it means that it is already moved to the production from our perspective. But from BMW perspective, that is the client's perspective, it has to move ahead from pre-production server to production, that is production server. That is very important. And what happens in certain cases, the client data is very confidential. For example, World Bank is our client. So they don't want to give even a single record which is a genuine record. They want to test it from their end. So they just simply make the copy of production server into pre-production server. All the data that is available in the production server, which is the real-time client data, actual genuine, if you have customers, and all this customers data will be there in the production server, the same thing can be copied to pre-production server. It will be copied to pre-production server, and that will be used. Okay. So this is what is the these are the different four different servers. And now here, other than these servers, we also have something called sandbox. Sandbox is something which will be purchased by the company itself. What I mean to say is, if BMW is the client, then BMW purchases all these servers. But IDA server is something which IBM has to purchase on its own for its own company. So if a company has a sandbox, that is the IDA server which we are practicing right now, that IDA server will be there with the IBM forever, because that is purchased by IBM. These servers are not purchased by the company, that is IBM. It is purchased purely by BMW. So one fine day you have to hand over all these things to BMW, because it's purely BMW's property. But IDA server is something which you use for practice, for training purposes and testing purposes. If you want to just check whether it is going to work properly or not, you're going to check it in the IDA server. And it is not mandatory that every company would maintain an IDA server. Okay, IBM maintains it, but some other small companies might not maintain it because it's a costly affair. That's the reason, they'll not go for it. Okay, so development server, I'd write some documentation for this. Development server is a server. All the developments are done by the technical team. Okay, customizing and configuring process is initially carried out in development. So clients. Develop not only development server, even the quality or testing server also will have the partitions and called clients. Dependent objects are visible only in that particular client, and all the client independent objects visible clients. So there are certain like client dependent and client independent objects are there. Any 3-digit number, development server. Right, so this is about the development server, and next we'll go ahead with the quality server. A quality server is where all the testings will take place. All the customizing and configuring that we do in development server will be moved to quality server, this server, for testing, and this testing is done by testing team. There will be a dedicated testing team for this. And here, once all the testings are done by the client, by our company, the developing company, the implementation company. From here, the objects are moved to production server. Okay, and the pre-production server. Pre-production server is a server which is a optional server. Optional server maintained if the client wants to, optional server maintained if the client wants to do the settings, do the testings from their end. So this is like a testing environment or a quality server for the client. Client can test it in the pre-production server. Production server is where all the business transactions are maintained in the production server. Okay, all the business transactions are maintained in the production server, and this server is actually where all the customization configurations finally have to be moved.